It certainly is a hard deal to try and predict, the next big thing, or build the next big thing all on your own, all in one chunk. Everything nowadays is 1,000 small updates every day. Like every time I log on to Google or whatever, that Google has changed since like 2 minutes ago when I logged on. From some of the way, but it still works for me. I love this idea of change, it happens at an incredible fast pace, but in a way that shields us from any sort of the burdens of the change, right? Like, I don't have to know any of Google's interior algorithms, Or YouTube recently, they did some updates to the way they present their site and stuff, But the essentials are still there well enough that I can still navigate everything. It's still, it's still fine. And at each step of incredible change, we know how to deal with it. We know how to, take up our end of it. Because if you're just trying to learn everything, that's being figured out, it doesn't really work. You have to back away and see the big picture things, right? You can't learn every new language, even, let alone every new piece of code, every new basic algorithm somebody's designed that works in something somewhere. It's a much bigger thing in programming to be able to see the whole program and how it all works, rather than knowing a bunch of little tiny tricks that you can, save yourself a couple lines of code here and there. So maybe that's where we're going. We all become more kind of big picture. We all become more kind of generalists as opposed to specialists. Something that Buckminster Fuller was very fond of, myself too. We each become less and less devoted to your own tiny little corner of the universe, like, for thousands of years of just farming. Like, okay, I'm going to farm, get my food, sell off the extra, and live in my little house by the farm. And my children will also do that. And, and it goes on and goes on. And we find robots and stuff are doing more of that farming for us. There are still farmers, of course, but things get more automated. Used to be, you'd have to, send 1,000 servants into the fields to go pick the corn. Now you have this just one big machine. And one guy driving that whole combine or whatever it is. And now 999 people of those 1,000 servants can go off and do something else. What else? How about something more interest, something higher level, more creative? Part of the worry with impending change, not really impending, it's already here, but with incredible change, is that the machines are going to take away all our jobs, take away all our usefulness. And the extreme end of it is what Mr. Vinge wrote here, the human era will be ended. I don't know about that. It seems to me that as machines take more and more of our menial jobs, we'll just invent more interesting jobs that only we can do, right? So, machines get better and better at, they can sweep the floors of a building, for instance, and you have hardly any need for a janitor. But, that role of janitor may be gone, but we still need somebody to, say, design the building, or design the machines. We need people who can look at things big picture. Minute details are rapidly taken care of for us, People can do more creative things, I would think. Of course, I'm talking generalities. Details get very crazy, and there are many menial jobs left in the world. Of course. Just in general things, though. Take away the menial, and we're going to start sitting around like, well, what am I going to do now? And so some people, there's a lack of imagination about what to do. Some people think that, if a machine took my job at making coffee, if a machine stacked these dishes in the back of this restaurant for me, if a machine, did all this stuff, I would have nothing to do, If a Imagine if we didn't need cashiers anymore at stores. Guess what? We don't. I'm already on online shopping, right? There's no physical human to take care of every purchase. You just go through things and protocols. They ship stuff to your house. Someday, you'll walk into a physical store and you'll grab everything you want, and they'll all be tagged with like little, transmitters, and your credit card will also have a transmitter, and just by walking out through the door, the thing will scan you and charge your credit card. And, if you don't have a credit card, then it'll call the cops. Or it'll just keep the doors shut. Imagine that. Just like, nope, you can't leave. Oh, guess I'll put some of that stuff back. So, some people think if we didn't have these menial jobs, what would we do? I wouldn't have a job. There's got to be something you can do. Ooh, now we're getting into human potential. Less so the idea of being trampled by what we have made. We're in the realm of being enhanced by what we have made, even socially. Don't get me wrong. Technology can always be used for good or evil purposes. Even unintentional evils, like, I don't know. With email, we saw the rise of spam, right? But with the rise of spam, we saw the rise of spam killers. And it's pretty manageable these days. Right. There'll be 1,000 things where we go on some new frontier, and there's some big problems, and we back off from the frontier a bit, and then somebody still out there figures out those problems and manages to deal with them, and then we all creep back in. That's the way online shopping works. That's how it evolved, that is. Heck, that's the way email evolved. That's the way computers evolved. For a long time there were all these problems with computers, and there are still problems with computers, but so much of it works so nicely. I don't think we realize how good we have it. You only notice when your computer is broken, What about all the times when it's working, and you can go to access the flipping internet? I don't know. So what comes next? For all we know, what comes next is a giant downturn, and the whole singularity thing vanishes in a poof of smoke. I kind of doubt that. I think we're still going up. But what happens when we invent telepathy? Imagine that, mind spam. People just think spam straight into your brain. Ah! But we deal with that. Various computer brain interfaces, which basically give you telepathy once networks are ubiquitous enough. Interesting. I, for one, would probably be the last on the boat to have anything that actually touches my brain. I don't want anybody to carve open my skull and put a chip in my brain. I value my brain very highly, and I don't want you messing with it. However, if something's external and obviously not a threat, like my laptop, and that enhances my mental functioning by giving me access to all these things and to this camera and all these other stuff, then I'm very interested. So what happens when we invent telepathy? And mass cooperation, mass action, desovereignization. One of the themes I've been talking about with E-Nation. What happens if we invent, immortality? There's some guy who wrote a book, says, live long enough to live forever. And his thesis was, be healthy for at least the next 30 years. Because in 30 years, we'll all be immortal. Well, gee, I don't know about that. There's so much of technological progress where you don't know... You know something is going to happen one way or another, but you don't know exactly how, and more so, you don't know when. Yeah. At some point in the future, we'll have people on Mars. Now, that's almost certain. When it'll happen, I don't know. I really don't. Particularly because there's hardly any reason to go to Mars right now.